Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera.
And for this week's episode, usually you do that.
I know, sorry.
For this week's
I was
episode,
thinking to myself, I was like, did I start a timer? Megan and I have to time ourselves for podcasting. And I had not.
So for this week's episode, Ciera and I are doing one of our beloved episodes. We are exploring the subreddit of Am I the Ahole? And we are going to bring to you just different people's situations. And as always, we go through, we read the situation, and we share our opinion on whether or not they're the a-hole.
But before we get into that,
I'm like, we're switching off this time.
We like to kind of do a rundown of, the past week since we recorded, give little book updates, weekly spotlights, all of that good stuff. I feel like I'm having like short-term memory loss of like, what did I do this past week?
The weeks have been they've been long, but also like short. I don't know if that makes sense.
If I was Maggie, you know what my weekly spotlight would be? That I went to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. I just checked her like location again. I saw she was just back local, and I was like, my little Sims character's not in Hawaii anymore.
My spotlight will be, this is good. I'm on my running journey. My most recent walk that I went on, I ran like 3.5 miles.
Look at you go.
So,
have you run a full mile without stopping?
Yeah, I told you, Megan. I
thought you
that I did 3
I was only half listening.
rounds of 10 minutes. I did 3 separate mile runs.
My weekly spotlight is going to be that I got my hair done on Monday. So a haircut is just such a highlight. And I've been doing the same thing. Since we moved back, I've been going to the same person for my hair. And we basically do like the same thing every time, which is getting like my front frame pieces shortened, doing layers, maybe an inch or 2 off. But like going and just being pampered and getting your little scalp massage
is everything.
So good. So that was good.
Book updates.
Yeah.
We both finished. You finished 2 books now.
Yeah, I'm 2 books in for the year, which
Would you
is
like
good
to enlighten the listeners of your immersive reading?
So the second book that I read this year, I think I've said since like I've been reading The House in the Cerulean Sea or on the Cerulean Sea, and I'm like a little over a quarter way through that at this point in time, and I'm not giving up on it. I have
you can't
4 or 5 days probably 4 days till book club. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I have 5 days till book club. It just hasn't been very exciting. So I'm still trying to read through that book. I was kind of in a headspace where I was trying to crochet because I was busy doing that. And then I was like, well, sometimes it's nice to do like an audiobook when I'm crocheting. And unfortunately, Spotify didn't have our book club book. That's what I really need, is to like have an audiobook of that to like help me actually finish the book. But they did have a novel love story, and we also have the physical copy of that too. But I was wanting to listen to something so I could crochet. And so I put that on. And then after doing that for a little bit, I was kind of like, I was starting to feel guilty about like an audiobook and not actually reading like a physical book. So I tried my hand at immersion reading. I did not coin this term. I saw someone use this term on TikTok, which is also kind of like how this option even entered my mind. But I listened to it on audiobook while reading it. And I was listening to it on like 2 times speed, and I still was like reading sometimes even ahead of the thing. So I'm like, dang, this is making me feel like I've got like an amazing Lexile score. But I finished that whole book in less than a day. And I feel like if you're wanting to try something out to like really get through books quick, and I didn't even love the book that much. I gave it like a 3.75, but it was just like so easy to read the book and get through it. So maybe I'll try it again in the future.
My first book that I read for the year was P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. I really loved the cover. It's so funny like how I can have books sit on my TBR for like forever, and then like I can have a book that I'm like, oh, I want this one, and then I have to read it. That was one of those books, and I didn't love it. I think I gave it 3 stars. The premise is that the female main character's brother has just died from cancer, and one of his like wishes in his will is that she and his best friend like go on like these trips he didn't get to go on to like spread his ashes and stuff. He like left little notes and stuff for them too to like read at each of the locations. And like the female main character and like the guy best friend have like one day of like history or whatever. And so she's like, well, I shouldn't even be interested in him. Whatever. It's romance. But like, and Megan has asthma. Like, I've been around asthma before, and I don't know if this author has asthma and it's just like very severe, but like, you would think this female main character was like dying because of her asthma. Like, it was just such a huge like plot point and like point of contention, and like one of the ways that like the guy main character would like worry about like the female main character. It kind of was like aching me out a little bit.
Okay.
Like, literally, like, not, this isn't a spoiler, but like they'd be like on a hike and he'd be like, I have to like carry you because this is too much for your lungs. And I was like, yeah, I don't like this. And she'd be like, yeah, it was just a lot. So didn't love it, didn't hate it. 3 stars. Now I'm just reading a book club book, and actually I've also started a nonfiction book, technically. My goal is to read 5 nonfiction books this year, up from my 3 that I did last year. And I feel like nonfiction is just like something I'll try and have like in the background. So I think I've read like, I don't know, 20 pages of this book so far, but it's called like Men Who Hate Women. It's by Laura Bates, I think. And it's basically, my understanding is that it's like this author did like this deep dive on like the manosphere and like the incel community and like about men who hate women. And I've just always been fascinated by that.
It's such a fascinating topic. So why not get into that world a little bit? That also intrigued me, so I added that to my DBR. So if it gets good, you'll have to let me know. Although, like, do you really want that kind of book to be good? I don't know.
It's more so like just,
I know, it's
interesting.
Okay. Well, shall we get into our situations? You can start because I think you have one more than I do.
Okay. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister-in-law to pay her share of the bill when I used a gift card to cover most of the meal? I, 26 female, and my partner, 27 female, planned a birthday dinner for her father at a steakhouse. A while back, I received a gift and a $200 gift card to this restaurant as a thank you from a contractor I work closely with, which I thought would be perfect for the occasion. During Christmas, I opened the gift with the gift card from my sister-in-law, who's 31 female, and she was there to see me holding up the gift card. She immediately suggested we use it for father-in-law's birthday. I agreed, but I didn't realize she'd interpret quote-unquote we to mean she could invite her boyfriend, recently reconciled after a year-long breakup, and go all out with their orders. A few days before dinner, sister-in-law asked if her boyfriend could join. I was hesitant since he hadn't been around for a year, and the family has mixed feelings about him.
Whose father are we talking about? Sorry, I'm confused.
The girls.
Okay, who got the gift card?
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
My partner doesn't like conflict, so she said yes, so he came. At the dinner, things got awkward fast. Sister-in-law and her boyfriend ordered the most expensive items on the menu. They both ordered surf and turf with extra lobster tail, while the rest of us ordered modestly. Their meal alone was over $150. At the end of the meal, sister-in-law then suggested dessert, but I declined since my partner and I already bought a cake for father-in-law. The bill came to be approximately $300 after tax and tip. I used the gift card but still had to pay $100 with my credit card. I asked sister-in-law to cover her and her boyfriend's share and split the cost of father-in-law's meal with me, explaining that the gift card wasn't quote-unquote free money for her and her boyfriend to splurge. She got upset, said the gift card should cover everything, and stormed out with her boyfriend. Later, my partner and I drove my in-laws home and dropped them off in awkward silence. On the way back, my partner told me I was out of line, but I feel justified since sister-in-law's actions caused the bill to exceed the gift card's value. Am I the a-hole? And there's updates.
Well, here's my first issue. This gift card was a gift for her.
Right.
And
to me, that's like, well, that's your money then.
That's your money. And so first of all, this didn't have to be the father-in-law's birthday dinner. Is that what this was? Or just They decided. So like, that's an idea, but I'd be like, okay, I mean, this is still my money for my share and whatever my share would be for like, if you're paying for the father-in-law's meal. Maybe you're also nice and you pay for your partners as well, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
sister-in-law, is it the partner or the sister-in-law who suggested them going out?
Was it who?
Was it her partner or
her and her partner?
Or sorry,
planned the dinner.
Okay, I thought someone suggested like, oh, we should use that to go for the father-in-law's birthday. Who was that?
The sister-in-law.
See, she's the one that's getting into someone else's business.
Well, she was the dinner was already planned and she was saying that gift card is for that place we're going to, you can use that for dinner.
See, sister-in-law's overstepping. That's not her money.
I think here's what, like, in my experience, when we have done meals that are supposed to be like gifts for someone, like we just took our grandma out for dinner for like a Christmas present. That's what she wanted. And granted, your and I's entree was probably not that different price-wise, but like we just split it 50-50. So my initial thought would have been that like you would have just split this meal 50-50, but I can see if they over-ordered what you would have expected them to order, then like you'd be like, well, you should pay for your stuff, we'll pay for ours, and then we'll split father-in-law's meal. And then gift card doesn't even matter. Like, you're generous, honestly, to like use the whole gift card to cover like what it could, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I would have been like, well, the gift card is covering my
I'm gonna keep the rest of this gift card for next time I come around here.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. So I thought you were honestly more generous. I'm not saying I wouldn't ever do that, like offer up the whole gift card, like whatever. If you're like, this is just, we'll use the gift card.
Or maybe you don't go there very often. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
But I'm saying like that alone is enough, more than enough, and then they can cover whatever's left. Because if your gift card, math here, this reminds me of that hotel problem. You had a $200 gift card. The bill itself was $300. Your gift card alone is covering more than it needs to.
Right.
And so I think I understand the boyfriend thing is like extra because like he obviously bought a meal or ordered a meal that was inexpensive. But I think like, to me, like the invitation part, like if they're dating and you're all adults, he should have been invited. He could have been invited. Yeah. I don't think it's weird that he came.
Right. I would agree.
Okay. Should I read some updates?
Please do.
Okay. Update 1. Thank you everyone for commenting and providing feedback in this thread. The comments here has helped me see things in a different perspective and now help me prevent such a thing from happening again in the future. I received a call from my father-in-law this afternoon. The dinner was last night. He called to thank me for organizing and paying for dinner. He also mentioned that he plans to call sister-in-law later today to talk to her, though I'm not sure how much detail he will go into. So far, I've apologized to sister-in-law for any miscommunication and for asking her to split at the dinner table. However, I haven't received a response from sister-in-law, and my partner has been cold toward me. Honestly, I don't expect to get paid back. This is just a lesson for me to learn. Update 2.
I kind of wonder how old the sister-in-law is. Like, I feel like if she's, like, younger, maybe, like, early college or something, like, True. In my mind, I feel like you're just, like, at an age where you're more stubborn and kind of bratty, and you maybe expect, like, I'm the little baby of the family. Like, you're really going to make me pay for XYZ meal. I'm not saying it's right. That's what I'm envisioning.
Okay, update 2. I got a call from sister-in-law in the evening. She apologized and Venmoed me $100, which is better than nothing. My partner and I also had a serious discussion about their family, and I feel like there's been some progress in improving the relationship between me and their family. I've seen a lot of comments saying I have no backbone or that I'm a pushover, and that's probably true to a certain degree. The family dynamic is still new to me, and I didn't want to make a bad impression in front of my father-in-law and mother-in-law, so I held back. She's probably using that term just like, I don't think they're married, to clarify.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I ended up
That may have been also
end.
contributing to my confusion.
I've learned a valuable lesson to speak up for myself and not cave when things feel unfair. Okay. I mean, I think we covered basically all of our thoughts. So.
Okay. This one is, am I the a-hole for buying a PS5 without my boyfriend and saying it's mine? My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 26 female, have been together for about 8 months. We live together but have split financials. I worked hard and went to college, which is why I have a well-paid job. When I met my boyfriend, he didn't have a serious job, but he worked hard so we could live together, and he now has a job with a decent income. He makes less than me, and the rent, etc. are divided pro rata. I don't know how you say that. I paid for the first month of our rent alone, and for our holidays, and he still has to pay me back, but there's no rush as I don't need the money right away. We really love gaming together. He plays on his PS4 and I play on my Nintendo Switch. He mentioned he would like to buy a PS5 together so we can ditch the Switch because it's lagging a lot. We did not talk about who would play on the PS4 and who would play on the PS5, but the costs would be split in half. I also said I would love to have a PS5 since I play on the Switch and it sucks. My boyfriend does not have enough money and still had to pay me back for the vacation, so we dropped the subject. But since we've been gaming a lot, my Switch is starting to annoy me. The console is slow and does not have enough capacity to load my games. That's why I decided to buy a PS5. I have more than enough savings to do so. I texted my boyfriend I wanted to buy a PS5 later that day, and I did. Now my boyfriend's mad because he wanted to buy a PS5 together. It would take several months before he would have enough savings, which is why I bought it myself. He also asked if the PS5 belonged to both of us or just me. I responded that the PS5 is mine until he pays half of it, but he can always play on it if I'm not home. He got upset by this and said he was disappointed and I am being unreasonable. So am I the a-hole for buying a PS5?
I think
with my boyfriend and saying it's mine?
Personally, this is less about like the console itself and it's the principle.
No. And I'm noticing just like some language that this lady is using that like I'm questioning how much she respects her boyfriend just by like the verbiage even in the beginning of like, I worked hard and went to college. My boyfriend like
Loser.
did not. You know, like that's kind of like the energy it's giving off. And when I was reading this the first time, I kind of feel like she just doesn't seem like he respects him. Granted, he's done some things that maybe haven't earned her respect. Like if he's not paying back the vacation or the things that she's expecting to have paid back. I don't know how much of that's...
It does make you wonder, like, she seems to be capable of paying for slightly more expensive things. Like, she just, like, does as she wants, which is fine.
Right.
But, like, if he is not able to keep up
I just
at that
wonder
pace,
if she looks down on him because of that.
possibly.
Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But, like, that's the energy I was getting when I was reading this.
What I'm thinking is, like, he obviously, like, wanted to do this as, like, a joint venture, and you guys had talked about, like, let's get a PS5. And so I feel like he is less hurt about the fact that you got a game console and more hurt by the fact that you had discussed doing something together and you went and, like, did it on your own.
Yeah. And it was a very, like, just quick, like, I'm actually doing this and I'm doing it today. And
then, like, because maybe he's feeling inadequate, like, you know, kind of down in the dumps that he was unable to, like, hold up his end of the bargain at this point in time. Maybe he was trying to save up for it. I don't know what his timeline is. And so it's, like, even though you're offering, like, you can play it, you know, when I'm not using it, blah, blah, blah. Like, again, I think it's the principle and less about the game console. That being said,
you're a person and you can do what you want.
No. I just think it's, again, the conversation about, like, your guys' dynamic needs to be had. And that's more the issue than the console itself. That's my opinion.
I kind of feel like most of these people are going to be like, you did nothing wrong, but let's see. Which I don't think she did anything wrong, per se. Not the a-hole. You've said he can use it and have ownership, when he can afford it. I don't see what the problem is.
Do you think it's weird that, like, she would have him, like, pay dividends to, like, be partial owner? Because, like, if you guys are together, it's 50-50, basically. If you break up, someone has to have it.
I know. That's kind of what I thought of as well. And also, like, who is the PS4? Like, that's a good question because, like, I don't know. I think it's like, okay, if you want to, since they split their financials anyways, okay, if you want to be able to, like, claim ownership over this, then yes, you have to pay half of it. Maybe that's just kind of, like, the thought process there. But I think that the issue more so is, like you said, they had discussed it and she kind of went and did her own thing. I don't think at this point it makes sense to, like, okay, now I'm going to pay you back for half of this. I think he's just upset that it's been said and done. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, it is said and done. So it is what it is.
That's what I think. Like, I don't think you should pay her back now for it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Everyone's saying not the a-hole, though. Which, again, I don't think she is, but...
Okay. Done with that one?
Yeah.
Am I the a-hole for declining to, quote-unquote, fix the errors I made in a blanket I crocheted for someone and taking it back instead? I made a blanket for my sister-in-law, Amanda. I was able to give it to her last weekend. She asked for it in certain colors. I didn't have any other projects on my to-do list, so I was happy to make it for her. I had most of the colors already, too, so it worked out. When I gave it to her, she was excited and she started to look it over. I figured it was to see how it was put together since she doesn't crochet. After a little bit, she said that she loved the blanket, but she couldn't help but notice some of the little mistakes I'd made along the way. I asked her what she meant. She pointed out some things like I'd accidentally done one row of striping instead of 3, or for one section I'd switched to the wrong color and threw off the quote-unquote pattern at some point, etc. She handed it back to me and told me that she loves my progress with it and couldn't wait to see the finished project. I told her that it was finished. She looked down at it and said it wasn't done until it was perfect and I'd made several mistakes that I could easily go back to correct. I was honestly dumbfounded by this. I hate the way perfectionists try to force their quirk onto others. I made this blanket for her for free out of my own free time because I love her. I told her that. She said she knows and she loves me for it, but she wouldn't be able to use it because she wouldn't be able to focus on anything but the mistakes. I said whatever and took the blanket back and said if she doesn't want it, I'll keep it. She looked surprised and said that she does want it. She just wants my best work and not something I half-assed. I told her that if she thinks me crocheting a whole blanket and making minimal errors is half-assing it, I'd rather just keep the blanket. She's so upset with me and told me I was acting ridiculous and that it wouldn't take me long to fix it. If you know anything about crochet, you know that if I made an error on row 36 of 1,115 row blanket, that's essentially starting over. Anyway, am I the a-hole? Megan can have input.
I'm an avid crocheter now.
So she can.
No, I read this separately because I was trying to, pull my own situations, and then I found out Ciera had already claimed this one. And when I read this, I was like, who do you think you are? First of all, the person wasn't even, like, expecting a blanket, right? Or, like, she said, did she say I'd like a blanket made, or?
She said, it just says she asked for it in a certain color. So I don't know if she, like, offered, like, do you want me to make you a blanket or what?
Here's the thing. If you are someone who is not doing the crocheting and you are simply asking something of a crocheter,
me,
you are accepting or not going to be mad when they give you the project or they decide to take it back, because that is a lot of time and effort. Even like a blanket like that, assuming it's not like the giant yarn, which if she's using like 1,000 rows, it's probably not. It's probably very tedious. And you know how you undo a blanket when you mess something up, or how you
unravel it?
You unravel that whole thing. That's all I know how to do anyways. I haven't tried making a blanket because that would take a long time. So it just kind of is very, especially like the mistakes cannot be that noticeable, I'm assuming.
It's also like it's just a blanket.
Just a blanket. Like, I'm like, you honestly better have like actual diagnosable OCD if that's what you're saying. And even then, okay, then she's taking it back and you're not getting your blanket.
Anyway, I think we're in agreement. Same with most of the comments saying, yeah, no, not the a-hole.
I also, like, I don't think I'm contradicting myself as I speak. I was going to say, I don't think I could make anything as a gift for crochet, but I also take that back because I literally was potentially going to offer to make something for Ciera. But I did tell you, I was like, we'll see how I feel after I make it. Because it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things where it's like, if I'm putting a bunch of time and effort into a project, like, I might want to keep it. I might not care. I don't know. But it's just a lot of effort to do that. So.
Okay. Your turn. You're up.
Am I the a-hole for expecting hubby to cancel a party? Am I the a-hole? Backstory. We have football parties every Sunday. It's potluck and everyone brings something and drinks and have a good time. People are at my house whether or not we are there. Usually only a few neighbors and brother-in-law. I am 35 female and he's 35 male. We've been married for 12 years. Anyways, my parents live several hours away. My father has been sick and in and out of the hospital for several weeks. I went up Saturday afternoon to be with him and other family. Hubby stayed home with the kids. I let him know my dad wasn't doing good and that we expected him to pass soon. I spent the night in the hospital room with him. He died the next morning on Sunday. I stay with my mom and siblings to help plan and notify people. I told hubby I'd be leaving after lunch to come home. The football party was on for 1 p.m. I got home and party was in full swing. Everyone is eating and drinking like normal. I was upset and wanted to be alone, so I went upstairs and stayed up there. I feel like he should have canceled it or made people leave before I got there. He knew about when I'd be home because I talked to him on the way home. Am I the a-hole for expecting him to cancel?
Do you wonder if this is like a situation of like, I don't think that weaponized incompetence is even like the right word, but like he's like, I didn't know it would bother you.
I had a couple thoughts, and I'm not trying to justify like if I'm envisioning the situation, just like the people I know and like kind of what I would expect. If my dad just died, like, I just feel like now's not the time to like have a whole bunch of people over at my house. That's how I'm just like feeling in the situation, like if this was me stepping into the situation. However, I also took note of the fact that, like, okay, I know her parents live a few hours away. Her kids didn't go to visit and see her father. Her husband didn't go. So I'm not sure, like, the dynamic between the family here. I'm not sure the closeness of the situation. That could be a factor to consider, but I don't know anything. And so I feel like I'm not trying to be over generous to the husband here, but I do also take note. I do take note of, like, you mentioned you called him and talked to him on the phone. First of all, it seemed like she knew the party was still going on, and she just kind of expected he'll assume I don't want people there, and, like, he'll make sure people are gone.
They say about assumptions.
You know what? Like, I would have been like, hey, by the way, I don't really feel like having people at my house when I'm there. Can you please have people leave early? You know? You already were on the phone. It's not good to make assumptions. And
I also wonder if he's had anyone, like, pass away in his life. If he hasn't had that experience, then he, like, might not know how to, like, navigate or the change. You know what I mean?
Maybe he thought a distraction would be good. I don't know.
Some communication should have been had regarding the party.
Like, I'm on your side. I would have, your thought process would have been my thought process as well. But I don't feel like your husband's, like, an overtly bad guy. He wasn't trying to be malicious. Yeah.
So I think this is more of, like, an accidental oopsie on his end. But then are we saying she was asking if she was the a-hole?
For expecting him to
I don't think anyone's the a-hole. I think it's just you need to communicate more explicitly. Because no one's mad, right?
That's what I was just double checking. In her original post, it doesn't say anything about being mad, but then I feel like some of the responses are saying, and then for him to get, like, mad about you being upset, and I'm like, well, where did we say this? So if that's the case,
as long as no one's mad, then
right,
we're fine. Like, move on and learn. Anything else for that one?
No.
Am I the a-hole because I think my daughter should get what she wants for breakfast? My female 44 dad, 68, has always been frugal. His frugality has served him well. He has a beautiful home, savings. He's been retired for over 10 years, multiple rental properties, etc. Recently, my daughter, 15, and I drove up from Phoenix to visit him over the weekend. Typically, my dad cooks breakfast every morning. On this particular morning, he didn't feel like it and told us we were going out to breakfast. This is a little unusual since he does not like to eat out due to the expense. He took us to a local diner type place and we all ordered. My daughter ordered the chicken fried steak. I heard my dad mumble something like, "the things you order." I thought he was just referring maybe to the portion size since my daughter is so small, but it didn't seem like a big deal at the moment. We all ate. My daughter ate all of her food, and we both thanked him before and after our meal, and we were very appreciative. Later on that day, I was cleaning out his refrigerator. My dad says, "I can't stand it anymore," gets out of his recliner and comes into the kitchen with us. He then goes into how our lack of manners needs addressing. He has this quote-unquote rule of etiquette that says that if someone invites you to a meal out, you should never order anything more expensive than the person that's paying. I think it's rude to put that responsibility on a guest. Of course, moderation in all things. For instance, I think it's rude I took someone out to dinner and they ordered a bunch of drinks for themselves or an outrageously priced meal, but this was chicken fried steak at a diner, not a magnum of champagne.
I've never heard of that particular common courtesy. In my mind, if someone invites you out to dinner and they're going to pay, anything on the menu is fair game. And that's my philosophy.
I agree. I also like he offered to take you out to eat. Like, you guys didn't ask him. He knew there was going to be an expense that he seemingly doesn't normally partake in.
And also for him to, like, the way she described it on here, I need to address this. I can't stand this anymore. We have to talk about this. I just feel like that's odd.
Yeah. So, everyone's in agreement here, not the a-hole.
This one was odd to me, but am I the a-hole for refusing to lie to my mom because my mother-in-law visits and wants to keep it a secret? Okay, context. My wife's family is from out of state. Whenever my wife's mom visits us, she doesn't want anyone knowing, including my mom. At first, it wasn't a big deal for me because she came for a short visit for personal reasons. However, it's become a problem now where whenever my mother-in-law visits, my wife forbids me of telling my mom. It has become very frustrating for me because The mother-in-law stays with us, and if my mom calls me to say hello or what I'm doing, I'd have to lie to her about who's at my house or what I'm doing if it's with my wife and mother-in-law. The other day, my wife got upset when I told her I will no longer be lying to my mom if she asks or asks or the topic of my mother-in-law comes up if she's staying with us. Side note, there isn't any tension between my mom and mother-in-law. Mother-in-law just likes others not knowing when she's staying with us. So that's the situation. I just want to be like, why?
I would say,
what is the issue?
No one cares about you as much as you think they do.
What is the issue? Why can no one know you're here? If there's no tension, like, what is the issue? And now I'm like bending over backwards for what? You're just staying here. No one has to come over if you don't want them to. Why is it forbidden knowledge?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, I'm so dumbfounded with what the reason for this is. Yeah. Is your mother-in-law in witness protection or something? Literally. This is a ridiculous ask. Like, what?
Yeah, that's insane. You're good. Okay.
I guess this person says, let's get real. You revealed in a reply that your mother calls and asks about your mother-in-law and then asks you to call your mother-in-law because your mom called mother-in-law and didn't get an answer. This is why your mother-in-law is asking to keep her visit secret. Your mom seems obsessed with her. I haven't looked at any replies. But if there is strange, granted, he said there's no tension, but then that's a lie. And she's like, your mom will not leave me alone. And like,
she's
in
like,
that case,
specifically, don't tell your mom.
Then, okay. She just wants her personal space.
Block her number. Okay. Am I the a-hole for declining my sister's wedding due to poor guest accommodations? My sister announced her engagement a few months ago. She has only been dating this guy for 9 months. At that time, I have only met him twice. My sister wants everyone to go to Florida so they can get married on a cruise ship, then go on a cruise with folks that are willing to the following day. As someone who is unable to cruise and who hates all travel, this is extremely problematic for me. This is the reasons. She scheduled the wedding for Monday. This means I'd have to take 2 days off work to attend. She scheduled the wedding outside of our home state so she could get married on a boat, meaning I will need to spend $500 on plane tickets and even more on a hotel to get there. She did not and still has not directly sent me an invite, so she told my grandparents I could help with transportation for them since I am the one family member with a driver's license and without kids to support, and I got a call from my grandpa asking me to help him with transportation before I even knew there was a wedding. Not only that, but because my grandpa is on dialysis, I will need to stop at a hospital at least once both ways for him to get the care he needs. Maybe grandpa shouldn't go to the wedding. I feel since this is their wedding, it is her job to find proper care for our grandparents and that she can't pawn it off on me. This also makes me feel like I can't go to the wedding without being guilted about not wanting to help them. I am autistic and eat a strict diet at very strict times. I've been informed the cruise will not allow me to bring any homemade food on board, and I will only be able to select food from a small menu which does not meet my needs. If she valued my grandparents being at her wedding, she would have had the reception near their hometown. If she valued the rest of us being there, she would have had it in the state we all live in. I feel like it's okay to decline given she is having what is essentially a destination wedding. It's not essentially, it is a destination wedding.
No, it is. And if you do a destination wedding, you have no say. No say in who does or doesn't come. Like, you might want everyone in your family to come, but you're choosing to do a destination wedding when it takes a lot more effort. Your grandpa, he can't do that. Why are you making her do that? So I personally, like, obviously, weddings are tricky too, because it's like a lot of people have this mindset of like, it's a wedding, it's a once in a lifetime thing. Like, you're really not going to be there for me on that day. And it's like, well, look at how hard you're making it. Mm-hmm. This isn't
like everyone
feasible.
Who has a wedding ever has to weigh the pros and cons of like what they want versus like what their expectation is. If their expectation is for family to come, perhaps they should have it close to where family is. Like, that is the trade-off you get when you do a destination wedding. And that's what most people, come to terms with. They're like, mm-hmm. Yeah, we understand not everyone can make it, but we really want to have it in Florida. So
that's what we're doing. And if poor grandpa wants to go, he's going to have to find another way. Grandpa, I don't know.
You're going to have someone else help you out because it will not be me. I'm not going. So.
Those are my thoughts.
Not the a-hole. Yeah. Someone said it's an invitation, not a demand to appear.
Okay. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom my commitment is more important to hers, or for telling my mom my commitment is more important than hers to change the date of a family get-together. This will make more sense in a second. That didn't really make sense. Okay. My mom and I continue arguing about this, calling each other selfish. And then she said, I actually haven't said that, but she said it to me, and I said, no, it's you. So my aunt and cousin told us a few days ago that they were visiting in 2 weekends. They live further away, and we see each other around once or twice a year. 2 days ago, my mom told me we were going to meet all together, them, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, on the Sunday they are here. I told her right away that I couldn't make it on Sunday as it's one of my best friend's birthdays, and she had already planned a day of it, and I said I'd go. I asked her if they could change it to Saturday instead. She told me she had a theater play at 8 p.m. that day, but she would ask the group if it was possible. Today, she told me it wasn't possible because of her play. Since grandparents are coming, they have to bring them back to their house after lunch, which is 1 hour away, then get back and go to the play. The others coming who live close to the grandparents don't have enough space in their cars. She said it was going to be Sunday and that I should leave my friend's party for a while to go and see them and then get back to the party again. I don't want to do 2 things at once. I know my friend has things planned and I'm excited to attend as I don't socialize often. My mom told me she would be the one to pick me up from my friend's house, so it would be easier for me, but I just don't think it's fair that I have to miss out on the party. I argue that they can still do it on Saturday, they just aren't planning it correctly to fit in their schedule. Here we eat lunch quite late, around 3 p.m., and when we do get-togethers, it ends up being even later, and our family ends up leaving around 7. I said that they can change the time instead. If our family coming at 2 to 3, as always, they can come at 12 and we can start lunch at 1. Then by 5 or 6, it should be over, and that leaves 2 to 3 hours until the play, which should be enough time to give the grandparents a ride. She continues saying she doesn't want to be stressed about time management and it's not viable, that they have looked at every option and it wasn't worth it. They can only do it on Sunday. I'm frustrated because I feel like it is possible on Saturday when everyone would be able to attend, and if they told me, sorry, we looked at all the possibilities and we can't on Saturday, it will have to be on Sunday, we'll miss you. Then I would have been sad, but understood. But no, even though they are making it that day, I can't. Even though they are making it the day I can't, they are still expecting me to show up. They said, to sum it up, I feel like they think that their commitment is more important than mine. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm a big proponent of whoever you made plans with first gets your presents. So I think that you are entitled to stick with like your original plan if you told your friend that you were going to their thing. It also sounds like you gave options to be like, if you want me there.
That's so frustrating though too, because it's like I feel like this girl is right and it totally could be on Saturday. Mm-hmm. But people are stubborn. Yeah. What can you say?
And like, I mean, obviously I know it's like this specific instance is like what you're getting, everyone's mad about. Your grandparents only live an hour away. Like, you can see them some other time.
No, it's not the grandparents. The grandparents are one part of the equation. The aunts and the cousin live further away. They're the ones coming into town, but it's a big get-together with everyone.
Well, then they won't miss you.
The aunt and the cousin?
Like, the girl not showing up. No one, if it's that big of a get-together, your sole presence will not that be, like, you not being there is not that big of a deal. Unless everyone just, like, loves you so much, but if that was the case, then they'd probably accommodate to be able to have you there.
Well, don't say that. That's mean.
I'm just saying, if it was that big of a deal, like, I think it's just her mom doesn't want to change plans. Mm-hmm. And her mom's like, well, I don't want to worry about it. Okay.
I have plans Saturday. We're doing it Sunday.
And so, yeah. And daughter's like, I have plans Sunday. And her mom's like, don't care. So, don't worry about it, girl.
Nothing's wrong if you don't show up.
No.
Like, you're fine.
I agree. Am I the a-hole for not hiding tampon trash at work? I started my period earlier today while at work. No big deal. I put in a tampon and threw the wrapper and applicator into the mostly empty medium-sized trash can with no lid, without thinking twice about it. Then I just got back to my job. 2 hours later, the only other woman on this floor came into my office and told me I had left the tampon wrapper and applicator out in the open and that anyone could see that. She also said I need to be more discreet because it's a mixed bathroom. I immediately thought her comment was rude, but a friend pointed out she might have thought she was helping by letting me know. Still, I don't think there's any need to hide perfectly normal trash. If there were an actual used tampon, I would wrap it for sanitary and smell reasons, but this was just small bits of plastic in the trash can. I grew up in a house full of sisters, and my fiance is very chill about menstruation. I've heard of men being weird about periods, but I've never personally experienced it. Another friend suggested I go to HR to make a statement and verify what's expected, but I feel that's over the top. I'm more inclined to just fume about it for the rest of my day and move on without changing how I throw it, or without changing.
Go to HR about this.
Anyway, I think it's just like a case of like an older woman probably who's like, oh, honey, like,
we
got to be private about these
down
things.
low.
Like, we
keep it on the DL.
You know, we don't want people knowing these things. Like, that's how I picture it. And so
I would just move on. Like
this is where you say, thank you so much, Sharon. I'll keep that in mind.
And then you just move on with your day. Yeah. I've never...
Because she probably... Well, I imagine... Who knows what the age of this woman is, so I don't know how old your coworker is. But she's like, well, I can't let them know, like, think that it's me. I'm giving her Southern accent, kind of. So, because she's like, it sounds like you two are the only women that would be using this bathroom.
And she doesn't...
Like,
that makes
don't throw
her
me
embarrassed.
under the bus. Like, she gets embarrassed, I guess. So, I think she was just, like, coming to you as, like, a, girl, we gotta be careful about these things. And then you're like, I literally don't care.
Yeah.
So, if she would like to, she can cover it up.
I mean, it's also like, it's one of those things where it's like, if this happened to me, I probably would honestly change what I'm doing just because I don't want Sharon coming back to me again.
Be like, honey,
to tell me anything
for the rest of that week.
So, yeah. Okay. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad to do with that information what you will? My dad gets very angry very quickly, sometimes at completely random things. Today we were having a conversation about calling people quote unquote good boy / girl because he told me that he sometimes calls his students, he's a high school teacher, that. I said that most people in our country would make the link to a dog or a toddler when they hear someone say good boy, and because of that, they don't typically like being called one. I then added to do with that information what he will. He immediately got angry and started berating me for talking to my father like I talk to my friends and the disrespect of teenagers these days, and the like. I asked my mom and sister about it later, but they were both split, with my sister thinking I wasn't rude, but my mom was on my dad's side. This wasn't the first time I've said something to him before and have him flip out on me because of it either. It usually happens around once a month, but I don't realize if I'm being rude until he's already shouting. So was I wrong for saying something rude to my dad?
I apologize, and I need you to repeat what they said because I was looking at my next post and I saw it had been deleted.
Their dad is a high school teacher, and he sometimes, it came up that he sometimes will say, like, he'll say good boy or good girl to the person in the class. And she was saying that's usually associated with, like, a dog or a toddler or other things. Okay. And so she was like, I just wouldn't, like, call them that. Do with that what you will. And he got mad. He thought she was being disrespectful.
I feel like she's trying to help him. Like, I don't know if she goes to his school or how old she is. Maybe she's graduated. But I feel like she's trying to be like, Dad, the students are going to, like, talk about you and make fun of you.
I feel like this is just kind of like, you didn't say anything wrong, but, like, he's going to take it how he takes it.
That's not embarrassing. Like, you know, he
gets
like
defensive. It's just someone who's, like, probably very, like,
stuck in his ways.
This is a normal thing to say. I'm not going to change what I'm saying because who are you to say that's strange or odd?
It's just it's an age thing, I think, mostly. Mm-hmm. Like, you have context for why it's kind of strange, and he has context for why it's not strange, and he can't.
There's a disconnect, and he's not going to.
Which you probably have more insight because you're closer to the age of his students as to what they would be thinking, but he doesn't care, and he disagrees with you. So, but not the a-hole. You're fine. Assuming you didn't say it rudely. Next one. Am I the a-hole for refusing to work on the house that my girlfriend bought? My girlfriend's aunt passed away about 2 weeks into our relationship. 2 months later, she put an offer on the house. Her aunt was a drug addict and a hoarder. There is nicotine on the walls, and we removed a lot of stuff out of the house. Now the interior of the house needs work. Her mom and her mom's boyfriend have been doing a lot of work on the house. My girlfriend started to drive 30 minutes from her job to the house to help. She's expecting me to do the same every day after work. I don't want to. I don't have the mental capacity to go to work after working my regular job for 8 hours and then work on the house all weekend. My job is also 30 minutes from the house. The house is not even officially hers. Her loan is still pending. I'm going to get burned out quickly from my job, the house, and our relationship if I'm working on the house every night. That was them, not me. My girlfriend is trying to guilt trip me into coming every night by saying how her mom and her mom's boyfriend are doing this for free and how I'm just sitting there. They don't work a full-time job. I'm grateful for their help, but I don't want to work every night right after work. Am I the a-hole for refusing to work every night after work?
So this is eventually going to become this girl's house, right?
Yes, it would appear so. Is it going to then, are you moving in with her? Like, is it going to be your guys' house?
Here's the thing. I totally get where you're coming from. Just like in terms of like, I didn't sign up for this. This isn't like, I can't mentally like do this. Like, I don't want to physically have to like, and I've seen people work on these types of like houses and like these hoarder houses. Like, oh my God, I don't want to do that either. I do think as much as you don't want to do that, like she's got to make this happen with some way, shape or form, because this is going to be her house. I just feel like it's probably going to put a strain on your relationship. So it kind of is like, how important is that to you? Do you feel like, you know, it's like Ciera was saying, are you going to move into this house? Are you also going to be living there? Like, I wouldn't do what this girl's doing, but I'm saying if I were, and okay, now I'm trying to kind of get some people to come help me because I can't do this on my own, or I would like to not do this on my own. If I had a boyfriend, I would be like, get your butt over here and you're helping me do this. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think it's fair, but I feel like in a relationship, you sometimes do things you don't want to do because you're trying to be helpful.
Yeah. I feel like it's give and take. He did put an edit and say, I've told my girlfriend I'm willing to help Thursday night after work, Friday night after work, and all day Saturday and Sunday, and she still thinks that's not enough.
That, I think, is a compromise. Yeah.
Because, like, that's you. Again, I do not know if you are moving in with her or not. Like, if it's going to be somewhere that you live, then I feel like even if you didn't pay for it, like, in some ways you should, like, offer some more, like, of the labor side of things. Again, I don't know if he's moving in. I don't know if he's paying rent. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, another option, although, like, this is probably why they're trying to avoid this, but it's like you could try and suggest, like, monetary help to help get people in there to clean it. Again, like, that'd make more sense if you're actually planning on moving in there. But, like, if you don't want to do the physical manpower, this is why people hire things out. Granted, it seems like it's her house and it's her aunt's hoarding house. So that's, again, maybe like above your responsibility.
Yeah. I think you're not the a-hole. I think you've offered up a
reasonable
reasonable amount of time and hours you're willing to put in. So.
Like, I'm just thinking of like when we bought this house and it's like, we have a great family, but I was recruiting everyone to get in here and help us paint this house. And we have amazing family. So they did. And we paid them with food and beer and love
and appreciation.
Okay. I have one more. Am I the a-hole for no longer giving support to my wife's family after I became successful with my own company after they talked down about me? My early 30s wife, mid-20s, grew up in a fairly poor environment. Her grandpa had money, but her mom didn't, and her sister doesn't. My wife has an incredibly strong work ethic. She's probably more so defined as a workaholic. When I first met her, I was in trucking, making about $50,000 to $70,000 a year. Since then, I developed a niche for a specialty marketing field and became very good at it. All my friends encouraged me to go into business for myself with a marketing company. My wife was fully supportive of this, even after we discussed the financial difficulties we would have for the first year or so due to a limited budget. I made sure she knew that some months I would not have a paycheck from the business. Her family, however, were not. They accused me of neglecting my family, being lazy, not wanting to work, etc. They would constantly be bringing up the fact that I didn't have a job because I was always home, working remote in parentheses. She would defend me, but they would ignore it and continue to call me lazy and a deadbeat for putting my daughter in daycare while I worked from home. I was still driving a truck part-time to have a steady, reliable income, but it was only half of what I was making on a good week. In the last year, however, I have grown my income from my business beyond what I was making in trucking and have very little overhead. Her family has taken note, and they are constantly asking to go out to eat with us, hang out with us, etc., then get mad when I never pay for the meals, the outing, the vacation, etc., aside from my part of the tab, obviously. Looking back, I understand why they never had money. They were living well beyond their means, but if it makes them happy, then it is what it is. I let my wife do whatever she wants with her money, which sometimes includes buying stuff for her family, which I support her doing with her money if that's how she wants to spend it. But I want to make sure she knows I don't want a dime of my money going to her family, since they were very unsupportive of what made us our money and would go as far as to talk down about me for doing what led to our money.
Money.
Money. Money, money.
Money. It's so funny. Okay. I think that...
You know what my favorite, like, just principle in life is?
What?
It is your money, you do what you want with it.
It's your money and you need it now.
Is that a local ad?
J.G. Wentworth?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like no.
Like, that's a fact I live my life by, honestly. that's how other people, that's what I say about other people and like their money and what they do with it.
I think we're maybe, I mean, here's the thing. You and your wife have seemingly decided to split your finances. That's fine. You decided to split your money that way. So if you're saying my money doesn't go to your family, so be it. Your money to your wife, you're saying your money can go to your family however you want.
And she seems like she's doing that.
That's how she gives her money.
If they want to be a little snotty about it because they're like, he didn't pay for everyone's dinner, he's doing well. Okay, that's whatever.
You're willing to take on that impression. Like, you clearly don't seem to be like, you don't want to be perceived as like the generous guy.
Because you're like, no, you guys talked it down on me. I'm not paying for your meal.
And you know what?
At least you stand on business. Yeah. Like, stick with it then.
Like, at the end of the day, it's your money. And you don't have to pay for what you don't want to.
Right.
And they're not entitled to payment from you. And honestly, we all need to be a little bit petty now and then, you know? So, anyway, that's all I had because my last one got removed. And so I have nothing else to share.
Well, hopefully you guys liked this episode. I know this is usually a fan favorite. I honestly feel like basically no one was the a-hole today, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that tends to be like,
because people write it from like,
they're like, I'm not crazy, right, guys? And it's
usually
no, you're not crazy.
No, this is actually an insane situation that you're having to even bring up.
But yeah, every once in a while we find ones that, you know, little diamonds in the
rough.
You're
like, you wrote this crazy. Yourself?
But not today.
Make sure you guys go follow us on Instagram at according to, and go maybe subscribe to our YouTube channel, also just according to, and you can watch the video version there.
And we will talk to you guys in our next episode.
Bye.